This episode is brought to you by Sisu Sauna. Sauna and contrast therapy offers a natural and holistic approach to wellness, providing numerous benefits that support physical, mental, and emotional well being. Heat from the sauna helps relax muscles and improves blood circulation, aiding in the recovery of strained or fatigued muscles. It can also help reduce muscle soreness after intense physical activity. We've been lucky enough to have Sisu Sauna on board as a partner of Power Monkey Camp for the past few camps, and it's been an incredible addition. We've added contrast therapy as a station to our camp, and the campers and staff have loved the added experience. I try to jump in the sauna as often as I can. We're in Tennessee for our camp, and I can't wait to add one of these to my home gym. Sisu saunas are made in the USA using the highest quality wood and steel products. Plus, their new Hume heaters are the best on the market. If you're interested in trying contrast therapy, we cannot recommend these saunas highly enough. Please use the code POWERMONKEY, all one word, all lowercase, for 5% off. Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Mike Service, and on today's episode, we have Bruce Young. Bruce is a multiple-time CrossFit Games Masters athlete, as well as being a former Power Monkey camper. We were lucky enough to have Bruce out with us in Tennessee last fall, and we chat a little bit about his experience and what he learned being a camper at Power Monkey Camp, but also what it takes to become a Masters Games athlete. The ideas about listening to your body as you get older, the ideas around self-sabotage and how to overcome some of these mental blocks that all of us go through, as well as having a strong support system and understanding who you are as an athlete to help achieve your highest individual goals. It was great to chat with Bruce. He gave some great insight to what it's like to be a Masters athlete, and with that community being a strong part of what we do with camp, we know that you guys are going to enjoy this one. Well, Bruce, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It's good to see you. We haven't seen you in a while, probably crossed paths at some competitions, but the last time I think we really hung out was at Power Monkey Camp maybe a year and a half ago. Is that about right?
No, it was last September I was there. So it was
September.
Dave's coming off from Europe, so his last 5 years have all meshed
it
together.
sounds like it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so it was about 10 months ago or 8 months ago. Yeah, that's right. I'm all over the place in terms of timing. And that was your first time actually hanging out with us at Power Monkey Camp. What was your experience like for the week?
The first thing that hit me, so the reason why I went there was Dawn Fletcher got involved with you. And I've known Dawn, she's been my mindset coach for close to 10 years now. And if she's involved with somebody, it's probably a good people and good training. So talk to her, she says, Bruce, you need to go there. The first thing that I experienced that absolutely blew me away was the amount of coaches and the level of coaching. Like when you do that introduction with everybody around the mats, it's like, oh, Olympic gold medalist. Oh, 3-time world champion. Oh, and it was a fantastic experience. I highly recommend if anybody's interested or thinking about it, it's a game changer.
I love that. Thank you so much for the endorsement there. And we loved having you out as well. And, you're one of the rare campers that goes out of their way to continue to want to connect with us. And, you even put forward something to add to the auction for us and it comes along with your background as having been a high level competitor yourself, and you understand a lot of the ins and outs, what it means to be a Masters athlete. And I think that's what we want to talk about a lot today is what it means to be a Masters athlete and some of the trials and tribulations that come along with it in terms of trying to go to the games, what it means, and some of the maybe stepping stones that you've had to go through to get there.
Yep. Sure.
So before we get there, I want to hear your background because probably a lot of our listeners don't know Bruce Young as an athlete growing up and before some of the games accolades. Can you give us a little background in terms of your athletic achievements prior to getting into CrossFit?
Minor level hockey. That's all I played. I just always loved sports. If I wasn't playing hockey, I was skiing. Again, always at a recreational level and thoroughly enjoyed it. Coming out of college, played men's rec hockey. Again, nothing serious. Then I started to do adventure racing, which is basically 24-hour races with a team with a topographical map. You're doing mountain biking, portaging, paddling, and running. And I thought I was in great shape then. And my wife started CrossFit back when it was underground at the time. And she started, and I mocked it and laughed at it, and like everybody does before you try something. And then I went in and I tried it. There was this really, really small gym, and the guys were just throwing down, and they had a slosh pipe out, like this 8-foot slosh pipe. And I come in after work wearing dress pants and dress shoes, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Adventure Racer, pick this thing up, put it over your head." A slosh pipe is 8 feet, half filled with water. So it's a real, I'd never
pain in the
anything,
butt.
never done anything with, and all I thought was picking it up in my dress shoes was engage your core and lift hard. And I put it over my head, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you did that. Like, that's incredible." So I put it down, and then they kept badgering me to try this CrossFit thing. And I finally tried it and got pretty good at it. And I did half CrossFit, half adventure racing. And then somebody convinced me to go to my first competition. I think at the time I was 47 years old, and this was an open competition, local. And my goal was to place in the top 50%. And I did that. And one of the workouts I placed like third. And I was like, okay, there's the bug. Forget about the adventure racing and getting poison ivy every year. I'm going into this CrossFit thing and see if I can become halfway decent at it.
So trading poison ivy for potential rhabdo. It's always
never got rhabdo.
Oh man, good.
Have you done CrossFit? Is that like a badge of honor? Like you have to have had rhabdo to really be a true CrossFitter? Or is that no? Thank you.
But
Thank you, everyone.
But it does seem like not at all. But it does seem like if you're going to make it to the games, you need to have ink of some sort, because everybody seems to have some kind of tattoo.
And do you?
Oh yeah. When I went in 2015, I got on my back shoulder, I got one from adventure racing, 24-hour races, and I got one for 2015, and then one on my calf for 2019 when I went.
So before we get into the CrossFit side of things, I just want to hear more about the adventure racing, because this is pretty interesting piece of it. How did you get into that? That we've had a few guests on that do some OCR stuff and some outdoor, Spartan races and DecaFit and those kind of things. But what's interesting about a 24-hour race with a team? Is it a lot more strategy, a lot more working, together to complete a goal, or is it the physical component as well?
It's physical, mental, and teamwork. If your team's not working together and you don't have a good leader who knows where they're going and can read a topographical map, you're sunk. And my role, because I was one of the older people on the team, was to keep an eye on the dynamics of the team, making sure people were eating, making sure people were drinking. Because if you don't eat and don't drink and you bonk, you affect the whole team. So when you're out there for 24 hours, that's kind of a key ingredient to making sure it's a successful operation.
Is there how does the sleeping arrangement work in that type of an event? No sleep.
No
Zero.
sleep.
Okay.
It's just 24 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just go.
I'm just curious because Power Monkey as a team, we're attempting something for the first time collectively this summer in August. We're going to be doing Hood to Coast race, which is a 24-hour going from Mount Hood in here in Oregon all the way to the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
And there's 12 of us on the team, and we each have to take legs throughout this 24-hour period to run this. I don't know. It's 200 miles. Is that what it is? Something
I don't want to know because I agreed to do it. So I just know that, I'll have a component that I'll have to do and I'll be whimpering.
So, we're trying to figure out how to best manage being in a van and following along with people running and trying to do a 24-hour Power Monkey team thing that we've never done before.
My recommendation would be to make sure that each person on the team knows their role and what their role is not.
Love it. So Mike, you're the driver. All right. So just
no, I gave 100% that I'm actually going to run. I think Bruce, I think we did a good job though. We elected, or she appointed herself, Dave's wife, Sadie, as the team captain. I feel very confident with her leadership role. So yeah, it'll
Beautiful.
probably be the rest of us minions following in place where we need to be.
She
That's
did it last
important.
year. She did it last year, so at least she has kind of an idea of what the whole endeavor is like. But
Now,
thank you for the.
how long are the legs that you're running?
They're between, I think, like 3 and maybe 6 miles each, so they're not like
Oh,
crazy long. But each person ends up having, I think, 3 or 4 legs over the course of the 24-hour period.
piece of cake.
Should be,
Yeah.
right, for a CrossFitter, but
What could
I
go
don't know.
wrong?
We're all soft.
What-
We're all
what-
we're all soft. I mean, Jordan has done a CrossFit workout in like 6 weeks. His biceps are turning to just mush. I mean, they're just. I don't know what we're gonna be able to do here.
Have fun and enjoy
Have
it.
fun, exactly.
we
Survive.
might keep you on call, Bruce, for like a FaceTime motivation or something if one of us is
Love to help out.
getting a little
Love
stressed.
to help out.
We're
Yep.
actually
But
trying to convince Dawn to come with us. Yeah,
Yeah,
see if she'll
yeah.
do the race with us.
She helps out a lot on those things with those Everest 29,000s, and yeah,
Yep.
she would be very helpful on a team.
Well, we'll see if we can get her to come out too. She's not that far away, her and Crystal. Let's get back to the CrossFit side of things now. So you went in the gym, you saw that it was something that would kind of up your alley, and was the switch turned just automatically into I'm getting rid of these other physical endeavors and I'm starting to train like a professional athlete, or was it something that you still were doing on the side and performing well?
So myself, my wife, and 4 others, we opened our own gym just because we got sick and tired of the old owner. So we opened up just as more of a hobby. And I was still doing both at the time as well as hockey. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to get better at CrossFit. So I dropped the adventure racing, but kept hockey. And then in 2013, I decided I'm going to go down to Carson and watch the games to see if I can fit and I can do this. And I came back from Carson in 2013 and said, not from an egotistical standpoint, but yeah, I want to really put my eggs in this basket and try it. So I still played hockey. I knew there's a few things I needed to do. One was hire a mental performance coach, and 2 is hire a coach to give me and tell me what to do. Because you'll like this, Mike, because if it was up to me, I'd be doing power cleans all day. And I never would have learned handstand walk.
Hold on to that,
my...
Bruce. Hold on to that thought for the end of the episode. All right. Just remember,
I
remember
know
what you love. All right.
So
Bruce, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I just before you get too deep into it, I'm really curious because mental coaches and mental training coaches, sports psychologists, I think those are components that have become more popular over the years, especially in Olympic sports and professional sports. It was something that I was never really exposed to as an athlete. So I'm just curious, what, like you said that you came back and you knew there were 2 things you needed. Like I want a mental coach and I want, let's say, a strength coach, but what told you that you needed a mental coach? Cause in my mind, you've done like these 24-hour races, you're a hockey player. I guess my inner ego would be like, I'm fine. Like I'll know how to do it. So I'm curious what thought brought you to that.
I started following Dawn online, and I started to realize real quickly that once everybody's got a certain level of skill, the difference is how comfortable are you at getting uncomfortable? And that's where I needed to drive in my focus and hone in my focus. To give you an example, in 2014, when I was doing an open workout, okay? Now, back in the day, an open workout, that was a big deal. It mattered because your score went towards your placement went towards the next qualifying level. Halfway through my qualifying workout, my brother-in-law changed the music. Okay, I'm in the middle of a qualifying workout, and I stop and tell him, "What are you doing? Put that music back on." Like, that should never happen in an open workout. Like, you need to be so dialed in. So I learned that the music doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Just block it out and focus. And that was one of the tipping points as far as, I need some mental performance coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually turned into me turning it into a business where I've learned some cognitive behavioral therapy. I now do life coaching, and I help other people with not only mindset as far as fitness goes, but also just general life coaching.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, I mean that's all interesting to me, especially I guess the older I get, I'm more interested, yeah, in the mental side of life as well, and sport is oftentimes just a microcosm of what's going on in life. So with Dawn, you just follow her on social media, so you just reach out to her and like, hey, I want to go to the games. I want you to be my coach.
No, and there was a girl in Kitchener who actually now is back at Polsky's. So I ran into her, who was working with Dawn, and she would come to our gym because on Saturdays we'd have what we'd call regional preparation training, where regional athletes from the area would come in on Saturdays after the gym was closed and just do high level workouts. And she was there, and she talked to me about Dawn, so I reached out. And we've been working together ever since.
And oh, Dave, go for it.
No, I'm just saying, what you mentioned there is incredibly difficult to do. And for you to just say, like, turn a switch and say, I was an athlete that noticed that the music changed and it totally disrupted my ability to focus on what was going on, and say, I need to change that. A lot of athletes, even games athletes that we're seeing, some of the top athletes now we're seeing, compete at a semis, and somebody be in their lane or a camera get too close to them, and you know what I mean? It disrupts their ability to focus on what's going on. It happens to the best athletes in the world. So it's not uncommon. But what is challenging is to actually make the switch from being an athlete that is affected to an athlete that is not affected. And obviously Dawn's attention and skills and what she's passed along has had some impact on you. We need to dive into that, because if there's a listener out there that is looking to follow a similar path to you, we need to be able to pass along some things. And even from my perspective, like what's worked for me and for Mike and some other athletes that have gone on to compete at higher levels, we all have some tools. But were there some things that were like really powerful for you to be able to say, all right, I've never thought about this before, and whenever I go in a competition, I use this as a way for me to make sure that I'm present in exactly what I'm trying to do?
The single biggest thing that I've learned and I've been able to focus in on, and I'll give you an example, is just be in the moment. Don't get ahead of yourself, and don't, like, what's done is done. It's just like in golf. Once you hit the ball, there's nothing you can do about it. The shot's done. Focus on the next one. In 2019, this will give you a sense of part of the issues that I had was from a self-worth and self-sabotaging. Going into the third day at the CrossFit Games, I was in second place. The night before the third day, my wife and I are literally, as they'd say in hockey, planning the parade. We're like, do we have a Canadian flag? Do we have this? Do we have that? And my mind got totally off of what was at stake and what I needed to do, and ended up coming out that next day and ended up in fifth place. My daughter, who was watching it, could tell. She said to me later, she said, I watched your body language on the first 2 days when you walked on the field. You walked with a presence. You had a presence about yourself. That third day, and sure enough, things did not go well, and I completely spiraled out of it. Did some work with Dawn, did a lot of reflective work, came back in 2021, and the only thing I focused on was the next workout, the first rep of the next workout. That's it. And I ended up third.
I love it. I mean, those are such critical pieces. I mean, I just keep thinking about it from my perspective as having gone through it as an athlete too. And I struggled with this for years. We have 6 events in men's gymnastics. You screw up your first event, your day is essentially done. And how do you get up for the next event and realize in your mind, I think, okay, I just screwed up my first event. I have to do 5 more and I'm basically already out of contention. But a lot of things happen that are
Yeah.
unexpected. And we always say, and always tell everybody, every 10th counts in gymnastics. Every 10th counts. Every little step, every toe point, everything that you think is just a passover ends up counting in the end. And when you get that end result and you say, oh my goodness, I was this close.
I could have been there.
I could,
Yeah.
with one more thought around toe point or a step or attention to detail around this event where my mind was wandering, it all adds up and we don't see it until the end. And
Yeah.
the ability to be present, I think, is such a critical piece and a challenge for a lot of athletes. I'm curious from your perspective, Mike, if it was something that was easy for you to figure out, because for me, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do as an athlete is to be in the moment at all times.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try to hold on to a thought that I have to answer that, but I want to ask Bruce one thing that ties into what you're saying too, because the being present, I think, is definitely like that can be the answer to so many things. Because then you're focused on what you should be focused on, and you're not, it's not that you're unaware of what's going on around you or who you're competing against or who you're interacting with, but you have a task at hand and you can put your energy into it the way that it should be. But you also said that, starting to work with Dawn, you had some self-worth issues. And I know one thing that comes up a lot, I think, with professionals, with athletes, with aspiring anythings are like the imposter syndrome type deal. So I'm thinking you and I maybe could relate in certain ways. So like for me as a weightlifter, I would say for most of my career, I was always on like the cusp of being one of the best ones. And then I had like a little fluctuation where I got up to a very high level. But it was always being curious if I was like, if I should be there or if that was the place that I deserved to be, because, at some point you were at camp, like I'm standing next to Chad Vaughn at intros for a national championship. And in my mind, I want to be on the world championship team, but I'm also looking at Chad and I'm like, oh, he's done it so many times. Like, am I actually like, should I be here? So I'm curious, like, you're competing against, guys like Ron Ortiz or some others that you've seen that like probably as you were getting more and more ramped up, these are competitors that you're looking at doing all the things that you're wanting to do. So what is that touching somewhere?
No, that doesn't touch somewhere so much from from an individual standpoint, Mike. It was more from a standpoint of, was I really worthy of being on a podium? I'm not a podium athlete. Like it took me the longest time from a self-worth perspective to go from wearing Lululemon shorts in the gym I owned with a bunch of others to CrossFit shorts, because I'm not really an elite. Like I'm not a cross. I don't belong in these shorts. People laugh at me. Like it's that whole self-worth piece that you pick up from childhood that you need to just start working on and dig deep into why that is. And I thought I had it licked, and then I did, but from the self-worth perspective, but then even the focus piece, come back to 2021, the qualifiers, the last workout of the last day, I remember starting was burpees and overhead squats. And I remember burpees are my jam. Overhead squats, not so much, sorry, but burpees are my jam. And I remember starting doing the burpees, and all I kept saying to myself was, I'm going to the games again. I'm going to the games again. And I knew I didn't have a great workout, but then 4:00, the leaderboard pops up. And the first 10 people are on the list, 20 people go, first 10 people. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not in 7th. And I scroll down. I keep scrolling. I'm 15th. I don't see myself. Now I'm like, I'm in the right age group. I fell to 18th place and almost didn't make it to the games because in that one last workout, I took my eye off the ball. And I didn't focus on the workout. I started thinking ahead. So that was another real clear indication to me of, as far as if I truly want to see what I'm capable of doing, I need to be 100% in the moment in that workout.
I like that awareness. And Dave, that he kind of brought me back to what the question that you asked is like, I definitely struggled with focusing on what I needed to do in the moment. So I think I was always the type of athlete that felt like I had the capability, talent wise, to do a lot of things, but I would be thinking down the road of what I needed to do instead of what was right there. So like Dave said, there's all the events that you have to perform in gymnastics. I mean, yeah, we just have snatch and clean and jerk in a weightlifting competition, but you have 3 attempts. And I would always go into a competition thinking about what I wanted my final attempt to be. But for your final attempt to be successful, you have to do all of your warm-ups. You have to do your first 2 attempts. And that was sabotage for me forever as a competitor, because I would so many times miss my first attempt because I wasn't so focused on it. I was already thinking, well, what do I need to do next?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably something, a lot of athletes, if you're all listening to, like visualization is so important to think about where you want to be and what you want to do. But there's also a way to prioritize that of like, what should you visualize right now, like in this moment, because your visualizations can even take a hold and bring you to something that's not as valuable or productive for you right in that moment. So it sounds like that's something that you and Don were probably able to work on and, still work on.
It's gotten to the point now where people have reached out to me to hire me to help them, to the point that even one of my competitors at the games in 2021, 6 months prior, called me and said, "Hey, can I hire you?" And I said, "Yes." But the second the open starts, like, we're back to chirping each other on social media and there's no more hell. He's like, "Yep, that's a deal."
Oh, that's fair.
And he ended up making it to the games as well. So that was good.
I think that's great of you, though, in the sense of to be interested in all of this enough too, to also want to turn it into, another, let's say, career or another passion where you're able to use this to continue to work on yourself, but then to take all of those tools and offer them to others. I think that's, especially within our group at Power Monkey, like, that's our whole life's work, is like taking everything that we've learned, good, bad, and in between, and then trying to share that with other people and how they can, take it on in their way, in their path.
And that's one of the things I picked up at camp as well was, actually, it was you, Mike. I was doing back squats just in between everything, and it was a light back squat, and you came over unsolicited, and I didn't want to. Again, this goes to the self-worth. Oh, this is Mike. I'm not going to bother him, right? But you came over and was like, "Hey, you know what? Bring your hands in. Like, have your hands in the back squat as if you're doing a clean." It's like, oh wow, what a nice guy! Like, that was amazing. It was just something so small, but so big. Or Hinshaw spending an extra 20 minutes with me after the running camp, the running portion, because it was lunch, dialing in my breathing. Like, he didn't need to do that, but it's this culture that you've created as well, all of you, that is just a giving culture without expecting anything in return. It's pretty neat. So hats off to you guys too.
Well, Dave won't take credit for that, but I always like to give him a lot of credit for, he's got a great wife. Like, he chose her. Like, he's got a great team. He chose all of us.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with him.
Yeah, he's got lucky. He's got two great daughters. He didn't really choose them, but they're pretty awesome too. But it's definitely a unique thing within our group of, you said when you were watching the lineup at Power Monkey Camp, and it's like, oh, this coach did all of these things and this coach did all of these things. The unique side that still humbles and amazes me when I'm with all of my peers at Power Monkey is the pure passion that they all have to teach and connect and be with people. So like, everybody has kind of had their moment of competitiveness or athletic career, but the passion and the drive now is like, oh man, we have like a cool legacy almost of athletes turned educators, teachers that just really, really love to see people, like when you say that, moving your hands in, made something feel better on the back squat. Yeah, of course, that's my hope. When I see somebody moving and I give them a little cue or a little pointer, I'm thinking of, 400 other people that I've done that for. And I'm like, oh, this is one more, like, that I can get in on the team, because I know it's going to feel better. And if it's not, like, then we're going to be able to have a cool conversation about, like, why is it not, and what could be, what could be growing from there.
I want to continuing this conversation around being in the moment. And I'm just trying to bring it back to the struggles that I had as an athlete and figuring it out. But when you're in the competition, we talked a little bit about what you like to do and how important it is to actually stay present. But let's talk about kind of between sessions, or like the night of, or between events. Everyone is different. Everyone is going to be different in terms of what they find to be helpful, in terms of making sure that when that green light goes on, or when it's 3, 2, 1, go, that they're at their peak. What kind of athlete are you? Are you an athlete that likes to just go back to their hotel room and say, I'm going to shut the lights off, I'm going to be by myself? Are you someone that wants to be around other people and get their mind off of what they have to focus on? What are some of the things you like to do between the night before, between events, to make sure you're prime once it's time to go?
Okay, great question. So my natural inclination is I'm a helper. I'm a helper, and I want to, whether if I've got people at the CrossFit Games, I want to go make sure they're okay. Did they go to this event? Did they do this? This year in 2021, nobody came with me. I would, on the way back from the event, I'd drive in my car and listen to the Comedy Network. I had no clue what was going on in the world. I'd get to my hotel room. I'd eat some more. Then I would eat, all while listening to David Goggins. Anything but something that'd be an outside distraction. Looked at the leaderboard once. That's it. That's all.
How did that work for you? Like, do you feel like that was as a helper, not being
It
able
was
to help?
fantastic for me.
Okay, it worked.
It was absolutely amazing for me, because I didn't have this, and it's totally on me. This is my issue is, if there was people there, I'd want to make sure, again, they were doing everything. The night before one of the events, it was discovered that we had to do double unders on the turf.
Mm-hmm.
I never did double unders on turf. So I'm like,
yeah, most people hadn't. Yeah.
how can I do that? So I went early because I didn't have to deal with anybody. I went early, went to the exhibitors pavilion because I knew there was turf there, and practiced my double unders on the turf.
Love it.
Like,
Love it.
And didn't ask anybody, didn't tell anybody, just go do it. And there's nobody else doing it. Now, that was not one of my better performances, but that's the kind of thing that I do. It's just 100% focus.
I think this is a really important note here, is that as an athlete, you're going to have to test things out. What works for you? You know, you went years being a helper thinking that, my best performances come from me spending time with other athletes and making sure they're prepared to go. And athletes are going to try something and maybe it's not going to work for them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It can become frustrating, right? It can become, I did everything that I was told to do and it didn't work. And that doesn't mean that you can't make it work. You just haven't had the success yet with the stepping stones that are right for you. So it's going to take time to be able to find what is right for you as an athlete. And that's why it's so important to understand that there's no blanket statement, no blanket protocol that's going to work for every athlete. You need to dive a little deeper into what makes you click as an athlete.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody. And that's where the work comes in.
Right. Now, you talk a little bit about, like, we've heard this a ton, but finding your why. What is your why around competing? What getting on the podium is nice. It's a nice accolade, but why are you competing? What does it bring to your life that you feel kind of enhances things?
So I've wrestled with this for a while, and early in my career, because people ask, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going to these extremes? And somebody at a dinner party said, you're just one of those people who wants to see what they're truly capable of. And I'm like, that's it. So there's two things. I want to always see what I'm truly, truly capable of doing. If actually in 2015, when I made it to the games, I was 21st. 20 athletes went. And I said to myself that night before I went to bed, I did absolutely everything I could. That was as good as I got. I'm satisfied with 21st. Somebody's got to be there. And I went to bed peaceful. Woke up, get a Facebook message from somebody saying, hey, there's 2 guys from my gym who qualified. one's going to Bible camp and the other one blew out his back. Stay healthy. You're going to get an invitation. Just make sure everything I can do is to my best ability. And the other thing is, I want to show children, my children and younger people, that because you're getting older, it doesn't mean you need to slow down. If you think you need to slow down, it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's what I want to show people, that you can do anything as you age.
That's Bruce, that's a perspective that I can give you and so many of our other Power Monkey masters, campers, like so much gratitude for. And Dave, you, Jordan, both of you guys can probably relate to that. Now that I'm fully meshed into the CrossFit community, like the whole aging thing is like almost like a non-factor. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get older. Like I'm gonna keep doing what I can do, and I have so many good role models to look at, and like that have gone through different issues and made recoveries and all kinds of stuff, or stayed at a really high level. But you know, growing up, it was always like well, wait till you turn 30. We'll wait till you turn 40. And I'm like, what? Like now I'm like, that is just the worst, like cynical, negative approach. And I'm that perspective that you have has definitely inspired me. Even though, I mean, I'm still young, I'm still 36, but everybody that I know that's in their 20s, and when we talk about things, they, oh yeah, how do you feel now? I'm like, great. I'm like, I'm great. I'm like, I'm sure, yeah, there's certain things that maybe don't feel as crisp as at 21. But in general, I'm like, I feel great. And I look forward to when I'm 40 and 45 and 50. And you know what, if
That's
something
a great attitude.
like if something happens, then whatever, it'll happen then. Like, and then I'll do what I can with the resources that I have and the inspirations that I have. So that perspective that you had there, like definitely hits a little bell for me, that I think I'm always thankful for, but it's not always right at the forefront. So yeah, thanks for saying that.
No worries whatsoever.
Now, what about support staff here? Relationships outside of you being a top performer. You mentioned Dawn obviously as being a coach in your corner, but what about the other side of having a support system? Your wife, your family. How do they factor into you being an athlete? Essentially, in some cases, a professional athlete, while having to manage all the other things that come along with being a dad, being a husband. Are they a part of that equation, or do you try to separate those?
My 4 children are all up and launched, so that helps out a lot. I'm truly fortunate in that my wife, Cecile, we own 2 gyms here in north of Toronto, and she's an absolute godsend as far as support, understanding that when I do decide, like she knows this summer is, oh, we're going to have fun. Okay, yeah, we'll go golfing. Yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, okay, we can go sailing. But come August 1st, everything changes. And it's dialed in. There's no more ice cream. There's no more chips. There's none of this. It's all out of the house. Or if it's there, I just ignore it. Don't even ask me. And full on. And that's a conversation that if somebody wants to get serious in an elite level in anything, they need to have that conversation with their spouse, because it does become all consuming if you want to be the best in the world at something.
You have, yeah, go ahead.
No, so that's at home. At the gym, I'm fortunate enough that in the gym that I work out at, I have 3 people who work out with me a lot, who push me. And then I've got Nick Anapolsky in his gym, CrossFit PSC, down in Kitchener, which is 2 hours away, that I go down to. That reminds me of our old gym, where there's like Emma Lawson, Jack Farlow, their whole team's going to the CrossFit Games. Like it's just chock filled with high level elite athletes, so that when I go there, I'm the lousiest athlete there. I mean that in quotes. Like I'm just, and that's a huge support as well for me.
So I know Mike's shaking his head over there, because we actually have a course that we're going to be teaching down your way not that long from now. We're excited about coming out to the Toronto area. But I always ask this to athletes, and I'm curious from your perspective as a master's athlete, you mentioned the benefits that come along with being able to have access to top level performance. You know, you have Emma Lawson not that far away from you and the rest of the crew. Do you find that to be helpful for when you need it? Or if you had access, if they were 5 minutes down the road, would you find it beneficial to be able to train with those type of athletes every day, being that maybe you're not in the same category as them? Or would it push you to say, maybe I might overtrain if I had this every day, trying to feel like I needed to be at 100 to compete against them?
Not at all. So my coach, Nick, gives me what I need to do to be in that environment. And let's say I've got 5 things that I need to do, and the people who are at Polsky's gym are doing something else. Just being around them, here, having the conversations between workouts, it's kind of like a Power Monkey camp.
Yeah.
Being able to sit down with Jeff Adler and have a conversation over lunch with him, like, you don't get those opportunities. Take advantage of them. And just being around those, seeing them. For instance, I watched Jack Farlow because I was always under the impression on our bar muscle ups, do you full grip or overhand grip? And Nick is always saying overhand grip. And I'm watching Jack and I'm like, he's banging those off with an overhand grip. I'm not changing. Like, that's a little thing that you can watch without interfering with the guy or with anybody else on the PSC team that you can pick up. So it's anytime I can get in front of somebody. Even my old coach would say, because I used to travel in my sales job, if I'd go to Ottawa and I'd drop into NCR where Paul Tremblay, Pete Shaw are there, my coach would say, if you get a chance to work out with those guys, forget about my programming. You just jump in with those guys,
Yeah,
and you'll learn. So I've been very fortunate that all my coaches understand that. And yeah.
I love it. I love it. It seems like you're taking advantage of all of the right things that come along with being surrounded by, you know, so many great athletes, especially if you don't have to do the same programs or feel like you're competing against them on a daily basis. Just being in their presence just has a lot of benefits to it in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses when you're dealing with 24-year-olds.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Semifinal events are not things that you really have to worry about, but there's been a lot of changes in terms of the type of programming that we're seeing since Boz has been around. A lot more skill-based work, a lot higher level gymnastic stuff that, you know, obviously is awesome to see from my perspective. But for you as an athlete, are you excited to see new things being introduced, or would you be okay if, say, a year before, the way they do with IF3, here are the skills that we know are going to come up in competition? It's going to be unknowable in terms of how it's going to be programmed, but I'd love to know beforehand exactly what I'm going to have to tackle so that I can kind of prepare. Or do you like this idea of, like, we're going to continue to throw, you know, stuff at the wall and see what sticks?
I like the idea of throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. 2 reasons. A, it's more gymnastics based. I weigh 178 pounds. I'm not going to win any major lifting events. So you can keep throwing gymnastic stuff at me all day. And the other reason why is they throw things at us that we don't know. I believe that my mindset is stronger than 98% of my competitors. So when that comes at me, I'm mentally prepared to deal with it. Whereas somebody else might
love
kick
that.
the sand and go, oh, you fill in the blanks on what they would say. But
sure.
Yeah.
And we heard athletes say that last year too, right? And we heard some of the best athletes in the world talk about that last year when crossover came, you know, or pirouettes, or, you know, whatever the new skill was. People were frustrated that they had to learn something new on the fly. And you already mentioned, you know, not having done double unders on turf before, and you took the approach of, all right, instead of bitching about it and saying that this is new and I don't know how to do it, let me see if I can go get on a turf and at least give it a try. Those type of things are for a mentally healthy athlete, someone that has a little bit of an edge in terms of, how can I tackle this appropriately and put myself in the best chance to succeed. From the perspective of these new skills, is that what you normally do? Just be able to say you've never done a handstand pirouette before, but you're going to have to go and do it out on the floor, or something you can't test out. What's the mindset that goes into saying, I know I'm more mentally strong than a lot of these athletes, but none of us are going to have a chance to actually test this out. What do you do to prepare for that to allow you to say, okay, I have one step up in a situation
So
where you can't really test something out?
I would watch other people, see if somebody's being successful. What are they doing in the
Mm-hmm.
warm-up area? What are they doing that's different? And then I'd try to emulate it.
Mm-hmm. So there's some observation
That's
going on
yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I would probably know somebody in the heat before me or the heat after who would text me
Hmm.
and go, "Hey, heads up, this is what I did." Got a
Little
couple of
insider
friends on
info.
each side that goes out, and yeah.
I love it. I love it. Do you guys feel the Masters community is really tight like that? Like you guys want to see each other succeed? We've had so many Masters athletes come to camp, and we went to the Masters Fitness Collective, and we see obviously everyone's competitive. Everyone wants
Yeah,
to win and succeed, but there seems to be a really high level of camaraderie around that group. Being, we're all here because we want to, just like you said, see what we're capable of doing.
yeah,
And it seems like the master community is a lot closer like that. Would you say that's accurate?
I would agree 100%. And
Yeah.
again, it basically costs us money to go there. We're not making money off. We're not making any money off this thing, right? So again, it's just CrossFit. It's not the end of the world. So have fun with it.
That's for all the masters athletes there that are worried about next steps. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Have fun with it. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. For you, what are the next step goals? What do you got coming up that you're really on the agenda from the physical side of things?
Physical side of things is have fun this summer. August 1st, start back at it. Keep going coaching with Nick Hanapolsky. And again, I hired him because of the community that he's built, which is only 2 hours away, plus his lifting technique, which has helped me a lot on my lifting. In the early days of my CrossFit career, I had very poor coaching that taught me very poor movement patterns on my lifts. Even on my muscle ups, up until 3 years ago, I couldn't do a muscle up without without bending my arm at the bottom. And I got away with it. So you just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Same with my lifts. Now I'm trying to break patterns that I've been kind of successful with
Mm-hmm.
on the lifting side of things. Now I've broken that pattern on the muscle ups, but the lifts are very challenging for me to. So that's what I'll do is keep going on the lifts, and then ignore any of the other competitions that are online. I just focus on preparing for the semifinals next year.
And being that you're 178 pounds, would you say that your biggest area of need is the lifts, like from technical side, but just getting stronger to be able to compete with those bigger guys?
Not so much stronger, but technical lifts. I'm not like a front rack position's an issue. Yeah, it's technical.
No pressure, but are we gonna see you at Nick's gym in September?
No.
No, come on, break my heart.
I thought it was sold out.
No.
No, September 9th.
No, not sold out. I mean, he said it will sell out, but it's not sold out. And we would, you're grandfathered in as a camper, so even if it was, we'd get you the golden ticket to come in.
Oh, nice. I'll talk to Nick about. Do I talk to Nick about it or you guys?
Just talk to Nick and see. I know he's talked about having athletes and coaches and everything there, so I feel like you being there would make a lot of sense.
Okay, I know one of my fellow masters, Joanne Cooper's going. She's been to the games 5 times, so she's going as well. So
yeah, I'm excited.
We got to get you there.
Yeah, we haven't been in Canada since before all the lockdowns and everything, so it'll be nice to reconnect with the community we've spent a lot of time with in the past.
Beautiful.
All right, I got one last question I got to ask because I find it to be cool and interesting, but also there's a mental side of this too. You were lucky enough to throw out a first pitch at a Toronto Blue Jays game.
How did you know that one?
We've got a great intel staff that digs deep and gets a lot of the gushy stuff on you.
So, first, are you a Blue Jays fan?
I watch baseball occasionally. I wouldn't, if they make a run at it, okay, I'll watch, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV.
I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm a unfortunate Mets fan my whole life. Comes
Nice.
along with the troubles that come along with that. But I've seen so many terrible first pitches thrown out over the years. They become memes and they become things people never live down, whether it's, Carl Lewis throwing out a first pitch, or, we have endless
Yeah.
with Mets fans, Baba Booey and some others. And these are people that are either great athletes, or you think being able to throw it 60 feet is not that big of an issue. And you get 40,000 people watching and cameras on you, and it turns into a complete mess. Was there any mental component to you being able to throw out the first pitch? And I'm curious whether or not it went where you intended it to go.
It went where it intended it to go, of course.
Great work.
And the biggest pressure out of the whole thing was I think he was 8 years old at the time. My 8-year-old son was sitting there watching me. That was the pressure, not being on the Jumbotron, it was just making sure he saw that I made the throw.
Amazing. And we got to see if we get that video and add it to the notes here. But that's like a bucket list item to be able to throw out a first pitch. Every once in a while, we get a gymnast do it, and they do like backflip, split, aerial, and then they throw out the first pitch, and it becomes like this incredible pitch. But I've never seen a male gymnast throw out a first pitch.
No.
Believe it or not, most gymnasts are terrible athletes outside of what they do on the gymnastics apparatus.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very
Because it's so
specific.
focused and niche. Yeah.
Put a pickleball paddle in our hands and it's a disaster. But Bruce, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it. The knowledge, the master community is one that's continuing to grow, and we echo the same things you're saying in terms of you may be getting a little older in age, but it doesn't mean that your physical career is ending. There's tons of things that each of us are still able to do, and I think you're an athlete that's showing that to be true. So thank you for passing along some incredible knowledge to our listeners, and we hope for nothing from the best from you in the upcoming months as you get ready for August 1st to hit.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. I loved chatting with you. Look forward to
Absolutely.
seeing you in September.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I think of our last minute questions here, really quick, hard hitting. But first one, Mike already alluded to, but what is if you had a sport or discipline that you would prefer, would it be weightlifting or gymnastics?
Running.
Oh, the diplomatic answer again.
I feel like that probably goes. I feel like that goes to gymnastics, because they at least do some running in their training.
Gymnastics. 100% gymnastics. I get a chance to walk on my hands, and I'm a happy camper in a competition.
I love it, and
Sorry,
we got. I think maybe
No hard
Hinshaw paid somebody off for that one too, so we got to make sure we give him a little heads up. Number 2, anyone that you think would be great for us to have on the podcast, a person in your life that would be a good interview?
Joanne Cooper, who's a 5-time, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6 times Masters athlete, female. And Lori McChesnick out of Winnipeg, who's another Canadian who I think has been 9 times to the games.
Wow.
Like, don't quote me on those exact numbers, but
fantastic.
And she continuously wins.
Yeah. Perfect. Jordan, see if we can add them to the list. And last one from me here. If you were a book reader, anything you're reading now or you've read recently that's worth passing along? If not, a movie or TV show worth watching?
Best book I've read from a mindset perspective has been the How Champions Thinks by Dr. Bob Rotella, and I know people have said that on your show before. It comes up often for a reason. It's a great book.
Excellent. I love it. All those mindset books. I'm just going to throw this out there too. Andy Keach. Andy, if you're listening, we love you, buddy. Andy is a camper, 83-year-old that came to our last Power Monkey camp. And just everyone fell in love with him. He actually works with Crystal, Dawn's wife, down in San Diego quite a bit, and some other
nice.
of our Power Monkey community down in San Diego. And he just sent me Outlive, Dr. Peter Attia's book.
Oh, okay.
And I've been diving deep into that, and it's a phenomenal book. It's
how scientific is it? Does it get?
It definitely allows for the layperson to to understand. He doesn't get
Okay,
too
good.
deep into the science. I think when you listen to him and Huberman go back and forth, it's like impossible to really understand what the average human being can actually take from it. But he writes it in a way where everybody could get something.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Outlive.
Yeah. Outlive. Absolutely. Well, Bruce, where can people find you if they want to follow along with this journey and get to know you a little bit more? Where can they find you?
Instagram. My Instagram is next.level_coach. That's next.level_coach.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure we pass that along, and hopefully we see you prior to September. If not, have a great summer. Continue with that golfing, and thank you again for the time today.
Thanks for the opportunity, and really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You got it. For all the listeners out there, please be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. You can check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Mike Service. On behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your hosts. I'm Dave Durante with my co-host Mike Service. And until next time, thank you all for listening.